Thank you, Naomi, because I was going to say that. And I laugh and tell people all the time, what would make anybody think that youth understand what the critical infrastructure sectors are, because most people don't know what they are. Okay, you know what I'm saying? And so with that, and all I will say is that they absolutely, if you never decide to go into a career in infrastructure, and there are many different paths, and that's what we wanted, part of what we're trying to do. Let me be absolutely emphatically clear. The decisions that are made across the critical infrastructure sector shape your life, your neighborhood, your community, your nation, and the society, okay? And that's just how important it is. And I always laugh and tell people, you will either become conversant and understand decision-making and get involved in that, or it's not going to wait. It's not for spectators, okay? Infrastructure will be playing in your communities and your neighborhoods, whether or not you choose to become engaged and involved. And that, at the heart of it, is part of what we like to bring to the program. And I even see some Iyai alums in here, like Isaiah over in the corner pocket, and he's coming in from Chicago. Okay, so with that, for us, a key pillar of our work is youth voice and active youth engagement. And so we thought that what we would do is throughout this is to introduce that. My dad used to say, I can show you better than I can tell you, with youth. Okay. And so we are very, very proud on this luncheon that kicks off our Lunch and Learn series, which follows up on our 3-part Transportation Research Board Career Series that ended on March 22nd. Each week, we are bringing speakers in the transportation sector, different vantage points and perspectives, and we're absolutely honored to kick off with Susan Ortiz, who's an Iyai intern. This is her second year as an Iyai intern. We like to try to walk what we talk, paid intern, okay? And one of our absolutely tremendous contributors, okay, who is also a youth in the 18 to 25. I'm not telling people's business, but Yaqeline Castro. And Yaqeline is the student outreach specialist and coordinator for California High-Speed Rail. Okay, and so I'm going to let the young ladies today are going to take it away. Okay. I'm going to start out by saying a little bit more about Yaqeline. She's going to kick off, and then we're going to go to Susan. She's like I said, she is the student outreach specialist and coordinator for California High-Speed Rail. And for those of you, this is really the profile project in terms of high-speed rail for us within the United States. Okay. And she's responsible for stakeholder outreach and engagement. I can tell you, I've known Yaqeline now for over 2 years, and I have been working with her. And Yaqeline is absolutely fundamentally involved in every aspect of the student outreach in the program itself, but every aspect of the student outreach. She is the presenter at our programs with youth. And so this is really live. It's baked in, and she has her own story that she's going to tell, one about high-speed rail, what she's in, and then her own life and how she got into all this. Okay. And then, and now she is a graduate student at the Mineta Institute at San Jose State University and Mineta Transportation Institute. I mean, we're partial, okay, no, say, but the Mineta Transportation Institute. And it's interesting because she started out studying anthropology, okay, at the University of California in Merced, but she's got a fascinating story to tell, and will also highlight an exciting program for us here in the United States and in California, which is high-speed rail. And then Susan Ortiz is a second-year student and a soon-to-be graduate at San Bernardino Valley College, another one of the Iyai partners, and that's where we hooked up. She's going to be graduating. We got graduations coming up. She's going to be graduating in what what, Susan, just a couple of months now. She's going to be graduating a couple of months, and she'll be going from, she'll have her associate's degree in business administration and all things smart and stuff like that. And then she's going to be going on to California State University, that is in the San Bernardino area. And she is, this is her second year now working as a paid intern. And I'll let her tell you about some of what her experiences are in terms of literally working with community. Okay. Yeah. And so with that, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to turn it over to Yaqeline, because she's going to tell you about high-speed rail and their exciting United We Ride. These are young people who are doing things and leading things and getting involved within their community. So take it away, ladies. I've said all that I'm going to say. Yaqeline is on, and then Susan is next. I'm going to ask them a few questions, and then it's going to go to you. Okay. All right, Yaq, go for it. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. It's been amazing working with you these last 2 years, and I've learned so much, and I'm excited to share one about the California High-Speed Rail project, but also about my personal leadership journey on how I got to where I am today, and hopefully inspire some of you all to take on careers in transportation-related field. So I'm going to share my screen now. All right, can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, we sure can.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. So a little agenda about what I'll talk about today. I'll start by talking about the California High-Speed Rail project, where we are today, some major work that we're doing all throughout the state of California. I will talk about our sustainability work on the project, about the student outreach program I will ride that I've helped manage these last few years. And then I'll end it with a little bit of my personal leadership journey, and hopefully, give some ideas on how you can start your career in transportation. So the video that I always like to start with is kind of an update on where we are today. So I'll let this play out, and then I'll take it on after.
By just having this project, it's opening so many opportunities for so many people. It makes me proud. I have 2 little girls who already know when they pass by a construction site, that's mommy's job.
I really enjoy that video because it gives some good visuals of some of our construction in the Central Valley, as well as some great visuals of what high-speed rail will look like traveling through the state of California. People's favorite question to me when I tell them that I work at high-speed rail is that project still happening? And so I'm always happy to share that we have a lot of progress going on in the state of California. And yes, high-speed rail is happening in California. So this map to the right shows a map of our phase 1 alignment that runs from San Francisco down to the Anaheim area. And it's color-coded in different, different things because we have different work going on throughout the state. And I'll share what some of that work is. But just generally, I like to say, on a mega project like California High-Speed Rail, you work on different segments at a time. And so throughout the state, we are in different phases of development. So the first one to highlight is we are under construction under 119 miles in the Central Valley of California. So currently we have construction from Madera to Poplar Avenue, which is just north of the city of Bakersfield. We also have advanced design work happening up to Merced and down to Bakersfield. And we plan to have an operating segment of high-speed rail from Merced to Bakersfield by the year 2030 or 2033. And by operating segment, I mean, real trains running with people running in them. And we'll have a key connecting station in Merced where we will be able to get people to San Francisco and San Jose in the interim. through existing services of the ACE rail line. We are also doing dynamic work all throughout the state. And so we have environmentally cleared 422 of the 500 miles of phase 1. So we are environmentally cleared from San Francisco down to Palmdale. And then we have 2 sections still remaining to environmentally clear in the Southern California region. And this is a huge accomplishment for us because the environmental clearance process is it can take quite a bit of time. And this is a process where you work with communities and you understand the impacts of your projects and you find ways to mitigate those impacts. And so we're proud to say that we've environmentally cleared 422 of the 500 miles. We also have connectivity projects happening throughout the state. One of them being the Caltrain electrification project in the Bay Area. We are partial funders of that, as well as other projects in Southern California, including grade separations and the Link Us project for LA Union Station. We also have an important memorandum of understanding with the Brightline West, is the private company that is building high-speed rail into Las Vegas. We are in conversations with them to see how we can connect our systems in the future. One of the biggest things that has stood out to me with working on the high-speed rail project really is our sustainability goals and our sustainability policy. Not only are we building a train that will be for the future and that will be more sustainable for Californians, but we're also doing it in a way where we're considering how we're constructing the project, how we're planning, how we're making stations, and how we're incorporating sustainability on many different facets. So here is our sustainability policy for high-speed rail. The authority will deliver a sustainable high-speed rail system for California that serves as a model for sustainable rail infrastructure. The authority has developed and will continue to implement sustainability practices that inform and affect the planning, siting, designing, construction, mitigation, operation, and maintenance of the high-speed rail system. And I'm always proud to say that I work for high-speed rail because the work that we're doing is not only about building a train, it's about connecting communities. And we know that to do that, we have to really keep in mind every single aspect of building this project. So these are some of our key sustainability indicators, and these aren't all of them, but these are some really important ones to highlight, and I'll go through them. So the first one notes carbon sequestered and avoided. So we've planted over 7,000 trees in California's Central Valley to offset some of our emissions from our construction. We also use Tier 4 equipment whenever possible. We use the cleanest equipment in construction possible to avoid more impacts to the community. We also have various policies that note that we provide construction jobs to local regions and nationally targeted workers in that region. And so not only are we providing, good paying job, but we're trying to reach those people who have been historically under-resourced and underrepresented and need access to these high paying jobs, as well as also working to make sure that they are union represented workers. We are also hiring small businesses on the program to ensure that our investments are going to the small businesses. And like I mentioned, just making sure that the communities that we're building and constructing in have access to these jobs and the economic impacts of a large infrastructure project. And I wanted to highlight our sustainability work because as you all students and young professionals go into infrastructure projects, you'll have the capacity to make decisions about these things of how sustainable you want to make your project and how much you want to give access to the different jobs on the project to make sure that it's more than just whatever you're building, but it's also building up the region in which you're impacting through every process. And so these are things you start thinking about as you go into leadership and management positions of, how do you want to build these projects and how can we do it differently than we've done it in the past? So I want to turn over now to talk about our student outreach I Will Ride program. So I Will Ride actually started, a few years ago, and it was started by student groups in the Central Valley. It wasn't until the pandemic in 2020 when we saw the potential to bring back this program and really meaningfully engage young folks into the high-speed rail project. And so we relaunched in 2020. We really built up our virtual platforms, and through that we were able to make some great connections statewide with people all throughout the state. And recently we've been able to gain traction also from national groups and a few international groups as well. But the core of I Will Ride is to connect students to the project, inform, engage, inspire, to get students thinking about high-speed rail and start thinking about jobs on high-speed rail. So here are a few examples of things that we've done in the last few years. And like I mentioned, we did a lot of virtual presentations throughout the pandemic, which was a great way to get our professionals in the classroom. And what was nice about the virtual setting was that, I can invite our director of sustainability, and I could invite our director of engineering to join these classrooms, and they didn't have to travel. They would just hop on a Zoom call. So that was a great way to relaunch the program. But we're happy to say we can be back in person now to different events. And so here's an example of some things that we've been part of. This was a tabling on the left-hand side. It was a tabling event with the Mesa group in Southern California. A photo in the middle shows a construction tour that we did with students at Fresno City College and Fresno State. And then to the right, we were part of a Women in Engineering panel where we had somebody from one of our prime contractors went, and she was a panelist for that. And so these are all things that we try to do through the I Will Ride program. And I also want to note that, equity is such an important part of what we do with student outreach. And so when we're finding the different groups to do these outreach events, we keep in mind, what are the groups that have been historically under-resourced and underrepresented in the transportation field. And we try really hard to do events with them and sponsor their events. So we work with organizations like Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, Society of Women Engineers, and all these organizations that really want to bring up groups into jobs in STEM, jobs in infrastructure, and we bring in the conversation of high-speed rail. And then we have a very dynamic staff at the California High-Speed Rail Authority. We've actually been awarded the Employer of the Year by a Women's Transportation Seminar twice because of opportunities that we provide to women and minorities in transportation. So we utilize those staff to be an example of the jobs that you can get on high-speed rail and share, that your history, that your background, that your experience is meaningful in a job at high-speed rail. So if you want to join the I Will Ride Student Outreach Program, it's really easy. You go onto our website, hsr.ca.gov/IWillRide. You answer a few quick questions via email, but it gives you access to quite a bit of information for different jobs and opportunities on high-speed rail. So I encourage you all to take a look at our website. Aside from signing up for I Will Ride, you can also find various resources on our I Will Ride page. So I did want to share a quick video of a construction tour that we did with the San Jose State students last year. So they were part of a summer institute through San Jose State, but they were actually high school students. So excited to share, some of the benefits of being part of I Will Ride as construction tours.
We have a single span of arches at this structure.
San Jose high school students had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to tour high-speed rail construction in Fresno, California.
Today's tour of the high-speed rail construction in the Central Valley has been absolutely outstanding for our 35 competitively selected high school students that are participating in the Mineta Summer Transportation Institute program.
And this structure actually straddles the Madera and Fresno County line. So if we hopped over the river, we're in a totally different county.
Students got to see the award-winning San Joaquin River Viaduct and the Cedar Viaduct.
This project-based hands-on learning opportunity is really driving home how innovative the transport sector is and how exciting it is to consider a career in rail, or particularly high-speed rail.
The structures were huge. I didn't really know what to expect from the structures themselves. But when I came here, I'm like, oh wow, this is a huge project. It's going through, they're making tunnels and there's so much engineering going behind it. There's like so much stuff going on.
This location.
Students also got the opportunity to hear firsthand from engineers working on the high-speed rail project and got to ask all their questions about high-speed rail.
The way you see that right now, that beam, the edge beam is probably about 10 feet tall.
Collaborative partnerships with groups like the Mineta Transportation Institute are the key to showing students all of the opportunities they have to work on high-speed rail.
We accomplish this through surface transportation research, technology transfer, education, and workforce development. And right here today, we are actively doing workforce development by bringing these high school students here to tour the high-speed rail construction.
So tours are one of my favorite things to be part of in the Central Valley. When we get to get students on the actual structures and they have their construction equipment on and their safety equipment on. And it's life-changing for them because for a lot of them, this is the first time they're on a construction site. They get to hear firsthand from our engineers, and they get to really envision themselves in these jobs, which is very exciting. So I want to close by sharing a little bit about my leadership journey and how I got to a career in transportation. And as many people will say that are in the transportation field, is that they fell into it, that you didn't think you were going to end up in a transportation department, and you did. You loved it and you wanted to stay there. And my example is very similar to that story. So I grew up in California, Central Valley, and I also stayed there for school. I grew up low income, first generation college student, proud Latina, Hispanic woman. And I went to UC Merced, where I started as a chemistry major, but made my way to anthropology, which I think was the best decision for me, and learned a lot about culture and society and connecting regions and the importance of understanding people's story in order to be, more resourceful in whatever job that you took on, and more resourceful in community building. But one of the key things that really shaped my experience at UC Merced was a semester-long program in Washington, D.C. called the UC-DC program. While I was there, I had the opportunity to intern with the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for Hispanics. That they have taken on a new name now, but that experience was life-changing. It was under the U.S. Department of Education. And it was so surreal being in some of the spaces that I was in. I was shocked by some of the meetings that I could sit in, and going to various federal departments and getting to meet the secretary at the time. And all these things really empowered me to know that, I had a voice and that I had the opportunity to make change in whatever sector that I decided to go into, which at the time I thought was going to be education. And then I continued to graduate from UC Merced a few years later. That's one of my pictures in graduation. That's, to this day, is like one of the happiest days of my life, because those 4 years were challenging, but so worth the work that I put into it. After graduation, I was accepted into the Capital Fellows Program in Sacramento, where I was an executive fellow and got placed with the California High-Speed Rail Authority. I was a little bit surprised when I got placed there. I really thought they were going to place me in a education-based department, but I was open for the opportunity and the challenges. And I will note that growing up in California, Central Valley, and also going to school there, I took on a passion to improve the region and connect the region to the state. It is a historically under-resourced region, and I just see the tremendous potential in the region. And so when I got placed at High Speed Rail, we're under construction in the Central Valley. And so it made sense to me. And I saw a tremendous opportunity to make a real impact on this project and real impact on the region. And in these last 3 years with the authority, so I did my first year as a fellow, and then I got hired on full-time after to oversee our student outreach work through the communications department. And I've gotten to build up the I Will Ride program. I've got to do a whole bunch of tours, presentations, as well as be part of various other external affairs work in conferences and public presentations with our executive teams, with various subject matter experts on our team. And really being in transportation showed me that I want to stay, because we are connecting people to some of the most important and impactful, experiences and days of their lives. And so I want to be a part of connecting communities. And so this last year in 2022, I got accepted into the San Jose State's Mineta Transportation Institute graduate program for transportation management. And so I have been taking classes since then. So I want to build up my skills and move over to rail planning in the next few years. And so that's kind of what my look ahead looks like. And I want to be part of this interim operating segment of high-speed rail in California. And I want to build all my knowledge and learn as much as I possibly can to make the best decisions possible for rail planning in California. And that's my leadership story. And thank you all for joining me today. And I hope you can find, your career in transportation as well. And now I will pass it either back to Dr. Scott or Susan.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna jump in just a second. Are there any, thank you so much. Okay. Are there any questions, Nate, in the chat that are really very specific to Yaqeline's presentation? Because yes.
No questions in the chat right now. So
Okie doke. Okay, we're
if
gonna
anybody
be,
wants to throw any in, you're welcome to at any time.
that's it. Just throw them in there. And in just a minute, we're gonna go to Susan. Okay, so a couple of points I want to make here. One of the things when you heard Yaqeline talking, I've told my peer, we talk about it all the time. I said, let me tell you something, transportation, water, the structures are all of that, that's not the it. The it is the outcomes that these sectors drive for communities. Okay. And so when you heard her, yes, I love all the big things that move, but if she was talking about jobs creation and business development and environmental outcomes and those kinds, and that's what these careers and this work gives you the opportunity to do. So then when she talked about opportunity, she said the big word, everybody's talking equity. So what does it mean to have work that is equity centered, not this nice little side thing? You bake it into the policies, the procedures, the practices that you have, the culture of the organization, okay? And so it's more than just talking about DEIA. It's hard work. Okay, but when you are able to, and so that's the reason that work needs to be diverse so that we get all of the perspectives in the lens at the table so we can make, so that good decisions can be made. And those can only be made with communities, not for them. Okay, and so you've heard a little bit of the preachy part over here. So as went through what we're talking about, navigational guides. We want you to take the opportunity. What did she say? I started as an intern, okay? And now I'm boom-pa-doom. Okay. And so this is professional, personal, thinking of how you do your journey. Every single one of our sectors, if you will, have their own professional associations and stuff like that. And those, they have scholarship opportunities, they have internship opportunities. In addition to, I'm just learning more, trying to provide the way for you to, I used to laugh and tell people, you don't have to give me anything, just let me be able to know where the key is. And so being able to unlock that those scholarships are available in those, and then you'll be hearing about, and we have numbers of them. We're all one big collective, but we're unapologetic about the imperative to wind up increasing significantly diversity across these sectors. So you're going to hear our partners, Latinos in Transit, Conference of Minority Transportation Officials, Women's Transportation Seminar, in addition to all of the mainstream groups like American Public Transportation Association, the ARTPAs and all that. All of it working together is what makes it work. So anyway, so having said that, now we're going to go on.
Hold on 1 sec. I do have one question for
okay,
Yaqeline.
you got what?
What advice would you give to a young professional seeking a career in transportation?
Okay, go Yaqeline.
I would give 2 quick notes. One is the why. Dr. Scott, you noted it. Why do you want to do this? You know, there has to be a bigger picture than just building bridges and building structures. It has to be more than that. So find your why. And then 2 is find your people. There is so many organizations in transportation that are trying to get young people into the field because a lot of folks are retiring right now and in the next 10 years. And so join the organizations, national, local, find those scholarships if you want to continue on your education, and find those people that are going to be your champions and your mentors and going to have those real conversations with you about the challenges, but also the people who inspire you, and you see their journey and you're like, wow, I want to do that. I want to speak like them. I want to take on leadership roles like them. So find your people, and then find your why.
Thank you, y'all. Oh, that's exactly. Hearts. Okay, now we're going to go on to Susan. Okay, come on in, Susan. She's laughing. She said, oh God, Yak does these things all the time.
I just wanted to thank Dr. Scott and then you, Yaqeline, because that was the beautiful sentiment at the end. So yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen. And so hi everybody, my name is Susan Ortiz. I'm very excited to be here today. I'm just going to give a brief overview over what I've been doing in the Inland Empire, which is where I'm from. So let's get started. So I am a community builder intern. Like Dr. Scott mentioned, this is my second year with Iyai. Yes, so very excited about that. So really quickly, what is CERF, otherwise known as Community Economic Resilience Fund? Well, it's a program developed by the state of California to support an equitable, resilient, sustainable recovery from the negative effects felt by the communities from COVID-19. So the focus is rebuilding. CERF is designed to support those communities and regional groups in producing what you can think of roadmaps or blueprints, just planning guides to develop sustainable industries, which I'll get into a minute, describing more in detail, that can create high quality, accessible jobs for all Californians, which touches back on the points that we want green technology jobs, right? And CERF is divided into 13 regions to promote geographic equity and, geographic equity and consistency, while keeping in mind that the existing economic developments outside of CERF, outside of this program being established. So each region will receive planning grants and implementation funds accordingly, according to a timeline. So this is just a map of the 13 regions. And like I mentioned, I am from the Inland Empire. So that encompasses San Bernardino and Riverside County. And the rest here is we have the northern region, the southern border, and the regions in between. So each region contains at least 2 counties, if not several, and that's how it's divided. So IEGO's role in CERF, so those are two separate organizations, and what IEGO is, it's a regional cross-sector, like co-convener, collaborative. It has a lot of moving pieces. So a lot of stakeholders involved from the city level to the state. And what they are doing here in this program is they are serving as the fiscal agent along with the Inland Empire Community Foundation. And the Inland Empire Labor Institute is also serving as a regional co-convener. So IEGO CERF is the collaboration of partners across several sectors to build a future that champions equity, innovation, and sustainability. The proposal calls for the development of the Inland Empire High Road Transition Collaborative, which is basically just a document that is going to contain like the rubric for all of these projects, or what is going to be done with the funding that we received from this program. So that is going to look like an inclusive planning council with 3 opportunities for engagement. So there's going to be sub-regional tables, committees, and equity councils, which I'll go into a minute what they are. And really what is innovative about IEGO CERF's approach is that it's really based on community and worker-centered. We want to hear people's voices. We want to focus on inclusivity and diversity and have new people at the table that previously didn't have a voice before, or they didn't have the opportunity to share their experience in their own field or what they experience in their own community. We want real stories. So with this approach, it should lead to new jobs and opportunity industries. And I also go in a minute in the next slide what those are. And the Inland Empire HRTC will bring over, I'm sorry, can I move this? Sorry. Brings over 100 organizations together in this inclusive economic development. Okay, there we go. Sorry, just a second. Okay, so in phase 1 of CERF, which we still are currently in, the Inland Empire has been awarded $5 million as a community planning grant, and the funds will support support shuttle-ready projects, meaning that they can be established within the next year. Before summer 2024, and they have to meet key qualifications such as equity, sustainability, economic competitiveness, resilience, job quality, and accessibility. Those are really like our mission and our values that we're trying to hone in on. And in building the Inland Empire High Road Transition Collaborative, like I mentioned, we are going to have 3 different ways to do that. So we're going to have 6 sub-regional tables. And since there's sub-regional, well, that's just going to divide the Inland Empire, so like Western San Bernardino and into other areas. And then about 5 committees, well, that is going to delve more into responsibilities and delegate roles. So for example, there's the governance, outreach and engagement committee, data and accountability, arts and culture, sectors and projects. So all of these committees are working together, well, first off individually, to get the proper documents and, like I said, get the feedback and the response that we want from the community before putting everything together. And then the 7 equity councils will empower impacted populations that have been disadvantaged or marginalized communities. For example, we want to highlight people with disabilities, people of low income, people of color, to plan, learn, reflect, and advocate for their interests within the HRTC. And since I skipped over it a little bit, I'm going to go back to the sub-regional tables. So they will identify projects based on mutually agreed rubrics and the HRTC sector priorities, in addition to elevating local assets and plans to the regional level. So again, we just want to bring what is already existing within the community. And we just want to support it. We're not trying to change anything, like anything that was previously already there. We're just trying to help. And moving on to the next slide. So defining high road jobs. So per CERF, like their definition of high road jobs is defined by employers who offer the following: family sustaining wages, clearly defined routes to advancement to higher wage jobs, benefits, paid sick and vacation, adequate hours, predictable schedules, access to training, occupational health and safety, worker representation, or right to organize or unionize, and no employer or subcontractor record of wage theft and other violations of labor law. So really quickly, I also want to recap on the opportunity industry sectors that I mentioned. So what that would look like in the Inland Empire, at least, is sustainable logistics, cybersecurity, information technology. Those are very important and big things here in the Inland Empire. Advanced manufacturing also. We do have a lot of warehouses and traction there. Green technology and arts and digital media. So those are just some of the several industries that we're hoping to transition into. The goal here with IEGO CERF is to transition into a carbon neutral economy and really diversify it from what it was before. And I believe that's all. Do I have any questions?
Yes, I have one question for you. It's a question about Iyai and how you've been an intern here for 2 years, and I'm wondering, how has it changed your perspective on infrastructure, if at all?
Oh, well, definitely. What, like Yaqeline and Dr. Scott said, you kind of just fall into it. So this was my introduction to what infrastructure was completely through Iyai. Iyai was working with my college, actually, San Bernardino Valley College, into a career infrastructure awareness program. And that's how I attended one of the sessions. And well, then the rest is history, the rest happened. So what it changed is it completely altered what I had already thought of infrastructure, which was basically almost close to none. I had not really, I will admit, I was kind of ignorant as to what huge role it plays in our lives. So So working with Iyai, it taught me the upcoming challenges that are becoming more and more common in this industry. Like you guys mentioned, with workforce crisis, but not having enough frontline workers, and the older generations sort of retiring, reaching that point, retiring and leaving those spaces and vacancies. But the younger generations are like youth people like myself who aren't aware and haven't really been introduced to this industry, to transportation, or more broader sense infrastructure. Because of our education, it's not really mentioned there. There's not a lot of, it just doesn't reach to us that easily. There's a lot more work that needs to go into it so that we can address that. So yeah, Aya has really demonstrated how incredibly important it is to keep the engagement with youth. So with myself, like I'm like, oh, well, that was very interesting how I just fell into it, but I'm glad I did. And it's been a new perspective for me. So it has helped me identify what other obstacles people like myself can face in these spaces. Like, for example, I'm very grateful to have been given an opportunity to speak and use my voice. And that is one of the new things that I have learned from coming into spaces like these, that we are capable of learning, we are capable of adapting and absorbing kind of all of that information from people before us, like Dr. Scott, which really great work. So yeah.
Thanks, Susan. I have another question from the chat, from Yaqeline, actually. What inspired you to do this equity-centered work in the Inland Empire instead of moving on to other places?
Oh, okay. Well, first off, I jumped at the opportunity that it was in my area because this is where I've grown up here. This is where I live. So the fact that it was in my own backyard, if you want to, in that sense, if you want to say it like that, yeah, I was very excited about that. So it just aligned with what I already wanted and what I personally see in my community, at least in terms of like Inland Empire is known for its kind of disadvantaged communities. Like we are rebuilding, and in terms of that, we do have a lot of warehouses and a lot of manufacturing going on, but it's not where it could be. And a lot of our people, at least low income or people of color, are still facing a lot of inequalities, systemic inequalities. So if I can do anything to contribute any work to remedy that or help with that situation, of course, I will. It's something I'm passionate about. So definitely, yeah.
Thank you. I think that's it for questions. I'm going to pass this back to Bev. Dr. Scott, we actually have a question that I think you might be suited to answer. This comes from Antonio. He's wondering, are there other similar groups within Iyai for areas like Fresno County?
Okay. Well, glad you should ask that question. Okay, and I'm saying, I actually live in the Northern California, but we made a very strategic, and we do work up here, but we made a very strategic decision that we were going to locate our base of operation personally for Iyai in California would be in the Inland Empire. Inland Empire is the largest county in the entire United States, stretches all the way over to Nevada, and also includes a Native American indigenous population, Mission Indians. Okay, I mean it's got everything. Okay, and I'm saying we do work anywhere that we can with our programming. So when you say Fresno, thrilled. Okay. And it's really not us. Okay. What we try to do is to open up, try to help open up everybody's head and say this: I don't sell infrastructure. This is not about infrastructure. It's about community building. Okay. And I'm saying, and that's why we call it the community builder, our community builder interns. We have a history here too. We were very honored to have a revered civil rights leader, Dr. Juanita Jones Abernathy, who was one of our founding board members. Okay. But at the end of the day, this is all about community building. So I say a big yes to Fresno, LA. I mean, and what we're trying to do is we don't do it, okay, is to just help to bring that perspective, which is that at the end of the day, this is really about community building. And the work that we do is always, I tell people all the time, I want you to know about all the national stuff and all of that. But the fight starts in your own home, your own street, your own neighborhood, your own community. Now do all the other too, okay? But that's where we can make a difference, okay? And so that's really what it's all about. I will say this, when we do work and we have a program, so we literally have programming that we're doing in Inland Empire, okay? We make it a point, once again, practice what you preach, of literally having, and we've been fortunate to be able to fund after the program, okay, whatever it is, an 8-week program, a 10-week program, a semester program, or whatever, we intentionally go to fund paid internships with youth who have participated in our programming that is local. Okay, and so we had a program, the Career Awareness Program at was our kickoff for San Bernardino Valley College. And as a result, that's where we were able to wind up making the connection with Susan and actually another student as well. Okay, we did programming in Chicago, and I've got Isaiah on the line. And so we had interns that live in the Chicago metro area after the programming that was over that were helping and seated there. District of Columbia, same thing. So that's so this year we expanded to 12 locations, United States and Canada, okay, and with 19 participating agencies. And we hope that that number will wind up being 50 and 100 and 150 and 1,000 and thousands, okay? Not us doing it, you're doing it. Okay, and I'm saying, and so it's very intentional when the youth are in our program. Yes, like I said, I want you to understand all the big stuff that happened, but we want you to be engaged within your community and in projects that are within your community. So that's why Susan's project is the CERF planning project that is in the Inland Empire. You heard her. 100, it's a bridge for 100 organizations that are doing work in all areas across the Inland Empire. Okay, and I'm saying, and so we would be absolutely delighted with Fresno, Tampa, because it's getting that it's the whole thing is to actively engage the next generation. And that means old heads like me getting from behind the table so that young people can be at the table. And and don't make me over preach it, but you got mentoring. I call it, you got mentoring, coaching, sponsoring, and championing. Okay. And that takes a lot of intentionality, and we got a lot of smarts, but a lot of what in leadership develops you is not the technical. You need to know the technical part, but just experiences and exposures to how the processes work, the institute, and then you know how you can best change them, make an impact, don't like this, and develop your own civic muscle. Okay. So anyway, so that's a preachy thing around that whole, I'm gonna stop, okay, because otherwise I could keep on going. It's 12:50 now. But this is
Dr. Scott, I can't get away from this question without noting this is Fresno. These are students in Fresno. I Will Ride was born out of Fresno and Merced, California. They are pioneers in Fresno State, Fresno City College. We are working with a middle school and high school program in a railroad competition that will actually be in Fresno, and to help with that. So I Will Ride is a great local program, and we have exceptional partners like Iyai and various others where, if you're interested in building something, we'll give you the resources, we'll give you the tools, we'll give you the internships, and we'll share the jobs. I will ride as a starting place, and then the partnerships. That's where we can dream a little bit bigger.
That's it. Yaqeline. So, and our particular program is focused 18, 25-year-old, but it's all about helping to work with everybody is a teacher and everybody has something to do. Working with those elementary school children, working with the ones that are in the middle schools, working with the ones that are in the high schools. Okay, and I'm saying, and most of the time I fell into transport. I always laugh all the time. I've been in this stuff 45 years now. I was minding my business at Tennessee State University, teaching government and public affairs back in 1976 and 1970. If you had told me that I was going to wind up being in transportation for 45 years, I've been at 9 agencies and have been the CEO at 4 of them. If you had told me that that was going to wind up being my career, I would have told I was fine. And what happened, I had a former professor that had headed my undergraduate department who sent me an application for a Carnegie Houston Urban Fellow program that was supposed to be 18 months old. You notice some of the things that the other ones, it was supposed to be 18 months. And look at it, I'm literally 45 years later. So very similar. What did Yaqeline say? What did Susan say? It's being able to get those experiences and those exposures. And then you do it. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I laugh and I tell people, I say, you know what? People know you by what you do. Okay. They know you. But then when you really distinguish yourself, and you don't have to be all over the place. In fact, I've always felt it's better not to be all over the place. But wherever you decide to find your why, and as Jacques said, your people, contribute, keep commitments, be somebody who's dependable. And you don't have to, and don't overcommit. But what you say you're going to do, do it. And then I tell you, you don't even have to write your whatever. Those kinds of opportunities will really, you pretty much get out of life what you give. Okay. And those opportunities will become more abundant, and you'll have networks. Choose your front row carefully. Everybody can't be in your front row. Okay. And choose those people that are going to wind up being the ones that you will be part of your journey. And I have people that I thank, some passed and some still here, that I thank every day, because anytime that you stop learning is when you get stupid. Okay. So now having said that, so we will actually have at the end of our program here, separate from the program, and that will start in July, we will post for 2 paid internships that will go through the following year up until June. And we always say June, and then we count whatever additional ducats we give. And then I've yet to not have them as they extend. But anyway, but we will have 2 paid internships that will be for participants that are in our current, that are in the 2023 program that will be with us. And they're virtual, and it'll be the same thing. We'll be looking, when Isaiah was working with folks that were in keeping relationships that were in the Chicago metro area, and just continuing to give. So that now I've got to get, now this is a piece that is going to be too much fun. We have a monthly program advisory committee meeting with all the sponsors and all that. So here's the secret. We've been doing all these. We had the TRB 3 career series, and now we're starting with the lunch and learn. And I have to tell you, please stay tuned. April 20th, we will have April Ray, and she is the national president for the Conference of Minority Transportation Officials, 50-year plus organization. We're so excited that she's going to be here. April 26th, we have Desi Hall. She is a young woman who is with probably the biggest thought leader and doer in terms of inclusive procurement in the country. All this stuff about local hire, community benefits agreements, and all of that, that is the area that they focus on, which is more than all the things that move. On May 3rd, we will kind of close out this kind of stories, okay, but excited. Dr. Karen Philbrick and the Transit Workforce Center will be speaking to 4, including some CEOs, folks who are new in the industry, about the careers. How did you get in it and why are you staying? And so that's going to be a session. And then we have another one that will be on May 10th, who is a absolute on the business side, an icon, 91 years old, a 3-generation small business, a woman-owned minority business that they do big time work, okay, and just unbelievable, okay, and talks about the business and how do you actually do. A lot of times we hear from the agencies, but there are significant business development opportunities in the infrastructure sectors. And then we'll end up on May 19th, this part of the Lunch and Learn with leading into what we call our critical conversations, which are going to be focus groups that we will have at each 10 to 15 youth at each of our local areas that will focus on why, what can we do more and better in our sector to tell our story, that will tell our story, as well as listen to youth tell us what they don't like about our careers and or the jobs or whatever. And they think that, these are things that you could change and we would like to help you. Okay. And those will be 2-hour conversations that we will, and that was what we call our critical conversations. So now here's the other part I'm telling you, then I'll be quiet. So just as a little incentive, we got innovation challenge going on, all that kind of stuff. We're going to do for all of this is the career awareness part of our national part of our programming. We've decided that we're going to do, with your help, a big trivia contest, okay? For all these, we've had the TRB series, we doing lunch and learns and all that kind of stuff like that. And just a little enticement, okay, if the subject matter weren't enough, to say, make sure everything is recorded. It is all available. We know we're across 4 time zones. And so getting people to be able to just give their time. It's not, and so, but we really, really encourage you to listen. So one of the things we're going to add a little spice to it is to have an individual award, okay, that will be based on a trivia contest that we interject at the end of our lunch and learn and career awareness series. So ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. And then for those who are in the program, we also do the monthly, we kicked off a monthly mixer on, it's a Saturday at, it's 4 p.m. There's one coming up next Saturday. I think it's the 15th. Okay. That is totally your time. Okay. We open the Zoom up to anybody who is in the program that wants to come in and chat and meet some of your counterparts. And we hope that big things will eventually happen out of all that. But it will, once again, all of your local organizers have all the link information and everything. But and that's a monthly mixer. We'd open that space up for you even more than that if there's interest in doing so. Okay. So are there any other questions for our fabulous team? And Susan, I am so proud of you. But you got to do these presentations and stuff like that.